Deep in the heart of northern Arizona lies a stunning natural wonder that's been drawing in explorers and nature lovers for years. This geological marvel, shaped over millions of years by the mighty Colorado River, stretches over a vast landmass. Its dramatic cliffs, vivid colors, and jaw-dropping depths create a mysterious landscape that's truly mesmerizing. But recently, a hidden secret within the Grand Canyon was discovered that terrifies the whole world. Join us as we unravel some of the most breathtaking discoveries ever in the Grand Canyon. Number 20, Cave of the Domes. Cave of the Domes is a fascinating and easy-to-reach cave on the edge of Horseshoe Mesa, about 3.5 miles below the south rim of the Grand Canyon. One could spend the whole day hiking down to the cave, exploring it, and then hiking back up. The cave on the west side of the mesa is just about a 20-minute drive north of the camping area. The trail to the entrance goes down from the edge of the mesa and gives it an open view. Once inside, there is a main passage under the mesa, with several side passages branching off at right angles. While most of the main passage is big enough to walk through, there are also crawl spaces for those looking for extra excitement. As you explore the cave, make sure to look up and admire the domes that shape the ceiling. Keep an eye out for old writings on the ceiling of the main passage, left behind by early explorers and photographers. The older writings are carefully made, while newer ones look more like graffiti. To avoid being stuck at the bottom of the Grand Canyon at night, it's best to plan trips carefully and give plenty of time to return before dark. Number 19, Great Unconformity. The Grand Canyon holds one of Earth's greatest geological mysteries. Here you can find the Great Unconformity, a fascinating gap in the rock layers that reveals a missing chapter in our planet's history. This term specifically refers to a significant time gap between the Cambrian period, about 550 million years ago, and the even older Precambrian period. Essentially, an unconformity is like a bookmark in Earth's history where either no new rocks were formed or existing rocks were worn away by natural forces. Though smaller examples of these gaps can be found in various places, like the crossbeds of the Coconino Sandstone, the Great Unconformity stands out for three compelling reasons. First, it showcases multiple layers of erosion. For instance, you can see rocks from the Unkar group, which are about 1.25 billion years old, sitting right on top of rocks that are 1.75 billion years old. This leaves a whopping 500 million years of Earth's history unaccounted for, simply gone. Another striking example is where 500 million-year-old Cambrian rock layers lie atop older, tilted rocks that range between 1.25 to 0.73 billion years old. This layering gives us a glimpse of just how much time has vanished. Lastly, even though the Grand Canyon appears to provide a detailed record of Earth's past, it shows us that more time has been erased than preserved. It's a prime example of a deep unconformity found around the world, where newer Paleozoic layers rest on much older, exposed, and metamorphic rocks. Through erosion, up to 1.3 billion years of Earth's history has been systematically erased. Number 18, Underground Suite. Even though the world hasn't faced an apocalypse or another World War II, the idea of preparing for the worst has been around for quite some time in the U.S. Former President John F. Kennedy was so concerned about the Cuban Missile Crisis during his presidency that he decided to create a fallout shelter in the Grand Canyon. In 1961, during the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis, Kennedy wanted to ensure safety if nuclear bombs were ever launched at America. So, he set up a fallout shelter deep in the Grand Canyon, capable of housing around 2,000 people. He stocked it with enough supplies to last a month. Fortunately, the expected attack never occurred, but the shelter eventually became a unique tourist attraction. Today, if you stay in the Grand Canyon Cavern's underground suite, you can still experience this historic site. Kennedy chose a spot about 65 meters underground for his shelter, constructing a massive chamber measuring roughly 60 meters by 122 meters by 21 meters. The walls are made of rock that is around 65 million years old, offering a truly ancient and solid refuge. Number 17, the Northern Leopard Frog. The Northern Leopard Frog, scientifically known as Rana pipiens, is in serious trouble. Once commonly found across the US and Canada, and even a regular feature in high school dissections, this frog species is now quickly disappearing in Arizona and other western states. To try to save them, experts from the Grand Canyon National Park, the Arizona Game and Fish Department, and the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service are working together. What makes the northern leopard frog special is its unique appearance. Its greenish-brown skin is decorated with irregular dark spots on its back and legs. These frogs usually measure between 7 to 13 centimeters long and have a shiny white belly with light-colored stripes running along their back. Today, these frogs are found near ponds, marshes, or sometimes in thick grasslands. When it comes to food, adult northern leopard frogs have varied diets and have even been seen eating other frogs. However, their tadpoles are plant eaters, feeding on algae, decaying plants, and small bits of other organic matter. Number 16. Petroglyphs and Rock Art. As you float down the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon, you'll see traces of ancient life, like the stunning rock art left by the early Puebloans. These people lived in the American Southwest between 800 and 1,200 years ago, and even made their homes right in the Grand Canyon. There's a lot to discover about these ancient communities. So far, over 43,000 different sites have been found in the canyon, and new ones are still being uncovered. At these sites, you might find interesting artifacts like pottery pieces and tools, as well as fascinating rock art. The Grand Canyon is especially known for its rock art, which is spread throughout the main canyon and its side canyons. This art comes in two main types: petroglyphs and pictographs. Petroglyphs are made by carving or chipping designs into the rock, while pictographs are paintings directly on the rock surfaces. These artworks, often grouped in what we call panels, are some of the earliest forms of writing. The true meaning behind these mysterious symbols is still unknown, leaving us to wonder about the stories and messages they might have held for the people who created them. Number 15. Ancient slot poop. Many people taking selfies at the edge of the Grand Canyon don't realize that the stunning red limestone cliffs hide a hidden network of caves. Jim, a paleontologist and director of the Mammoth site in South Dakota, points out that Grand Canyon National Park probably has more caves than any other place. While Carlsbad Caverns is famous for its 119 caves, the Grand Canyon likely has hundreds of them. These caves hold fascinating secrets about the past. They contain old plant and animal remains, serving as hidden records of what the climate was like long ago. Even animal droppings can reveal interesting details. For example, the shape of droppings can tell scientists about the species that lived there. A round bowling ball-shaped droppings might indicate an extinct mammoth, while a droppings shaped like a Hershey's Kiss might suggest an extinct type of shrub. Tiny bits of material in the cave sediments, including dirt, hair, plant parts, and tiny flakes of skin, can also provide clues. By studying ancient DNA in these materials, scientists can learn about the plants and animals that existed tens of thousands of years ago. For instance, back then, pine trees grew to the river. So, when you hike through the lower parts of the canyon today, you might wish for some shade, but during the Ice Age, there was plenty of shade. Even the neatly organized remains of plants and animals left by wood rats over thousands of years are valuable historical records. Number 14. The Colorado River. A shocking discovery in the Grand Canyon revealed that the Colorado River, a vital water source in the U.S., is drying up faster than ever. This river, which has been suffering from a severe drought for years, is facing even more problems due to its dry conditions. Although a recent wet winter helped a bit, the drought has lasted for over 5 years, causing serious concerns among local authorities and environmental experts. They worry about possible extreme water shortages and the negative effects this could have on local economies and public health. American Rivers, a conservation group, now calls the Colorado River the most endangered river in the world. According to the Bureau of Reclamation, the river provides water to 40 million people in the U.S. and 2 Mexican states. It also produces hydroelectric power for 8 states and is a crucial resource for 30 tribal nations and many farming communities across the western U.S. By December 2021, Lake Mead, a major reservoir on the river, reached a record low water level of about 325 meters. This low level caused a 25% drop in hydroelectric power production. In June of the same year, the lake's water level fell further to around 318 meters, putting it dangerously close to a dead pool situation, where water levels are so low that the river can't flow downstream to generate power. A 2015 report predicted that if the Colorado River could no longer provide water, Arizona's economy would suffer greatly. The state's gross product could drop by over $185 billion, and more than 2 million jobs could be lost. Number 13. Uranium in the Grand Canyon. One might think that the Grand Canyon, home to many Native American tribes and a top gem in America's national parks, would be safe from uranium pollution, but that's not the case. Uranium ore is found in the public lands around the Grand Canyon. To get this ore, miners drill deep into rock formations called breccia pipes. This drilling makes the uranium mix into the groundwater, which can harm the springs in the Grand Canyon, which are teeming with diverse wildlife. The leftover material from mining, called tailings, is often left in heaps that can pollute the air and water. Uranium deposits are hidden within layers of sandstone, siltstone, and mudstone in the southwest, especially in the breccia pipes around the Grand Canyon. The problem is that uranium mining is not always profitable, so many mines are abandoned for years without any upkeep or monitoring. These abandoned sites, including drilling spots and tailings piles, are left exposed to the elements, which leads to groundwater contamination and air pollution. Cleaning up these sites often falls to the public, which is troubling given that these areas include sacred Native American sites and public lands. Iconic landscapes have been altered, and water sources remain polluted, with some ponds tainted by uranium still accessible to wildlife. Uranium mining in this region isn't new. It started in the 1950s with the Orphan Mine, located just 2 miles from Grand Canyon Village and the National Park. Since then, at least 8 uranium mines have operated in the area. One of these, the Canyon Mine, now called the Pinyon Plains Mine, is still active and continues to pose a threat to the Grand Canyon Springs. Number 12. Coconino Sandstone. The Coconino Sandstone is a type of rock found mainly in Coconino County, Arizona, which is how it got its name. This rock is made mostly of quartz grains, a tough mineral that doesn't easily break down or dissolve over time. While many minerals crumble or dissolve as rocks erode, quartz grains tend to last, surviving the effects of time and weather. The thickness of the Coconino Sandstone can change based on the geography of the area. In the Grand Canyon, it is about 20 meters thick in the west, more than 180 meters thick in the middle, and only 17 meters thick in the east. This sandstone often rests on top of other rock layers like the Kaibab limestone or the Toroweap Formation. The color of this sandstone ranges from buff to white, and it is made up mostly of small, well-sorted quartz grains, with a few potassium feldspar grains mixed in. These grains were deposited by the wind around 275 million years ago. What's fascinating about the Coconino Sandstone is its well-preserved features, such as ripple marks, rain patches, and fossil tracks, though it doesn't contain bones. These features show how the sandstone was shaped by the wind and include numerous tracks from reptiles and insects. Some of these trackways have special names and reveal details about animals that are not known from their bones. For example, there's a small creature known only from its footprints called chichos, which has never been identified from any other remains. Number 11. Tuan Ruins and Museum. When one thinks of the Grand Canyon, imagination of its stunning rock formations and awe-inspiring scenery comes to mind. But what many people don't know is that people have lived around the Grand Canyon for at least 4,000 years, and possibly as long as 12,000 years. Over this long time, different groups of people have come and gone, sometimes settling in the area for long periods, and other times just passing through. One fascinating example is the Tuan Ruins. This ancient site, which is about 800 years old, is located within the Grand Canyon National Park. The National Park Service considers it one of the most important archaeological sites in Arizona. The ruins include a modest U-shaped pueblo building that once had living spaces, storage areas, and a ceremonial room. Tree ring studies suggest that people lived here for around 20 years, starting around the year 1185. Tuan Ruins can be seen along Arizona State Route 64, also known as Desert View Drive, just 2 kilometers west of the Desert View Watchtower. The site was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 1974. It was first dug up in 1930 by archaeologists from Globe, Arizona, and it was carefully preserved between 1948 and 1965. What makes the Tuan Ruins especially interesting is that they show how the Pueblo II culture continued even into the Pueblo III period, providing a unique glimpse into the lives of ancient people who lived in the Grand Canyon region. Number 10. Havasupai Tribe. The Havasupai are a Native American tribe who have lived in the Grand Canyon area for over 800 years. In their language, Havasu means blue-green water, and Pai means people. They originally lived mostly in Havasupai Canyon and owned a huge piece of land, as large as the state of Delaware, about 6,500 square kilometers. But in 1982, the federal government took almost all of their land, leaving them with just 2 square kilometers, when the Grand Canyon was made a national park in 1919. This decision led to many conflicts between the Havasupai and the National Park Service. Over the years, the tribe fought in U.S. courts to get their land back. They achieved a big victory in 1975 with the Grand Canyon National Park Enlargement Act, which returned about 750 square kilometers of their land. To support themselves now, the Havasupai have turned to tourism. Visitors who want to come to their land need to pay a fee and book a stay either at the tribe's lodge or at their campground. Number 9. The Mulan Monster. The Mulan Monster is often called Arizona's version of Bigfoot. This mysterious ape-like creature is said to live in the forests along the Mulan Rim in Arizona. People describe it as a giant, upright being standing over 6 feet tall with striking red eyes. Most of its body is covered in long, black or reddish-brown hair, but its chest, face, hands, and feet are hairless. The Mulan Monster is known for its strong, unpleasant smell, which is a strange mix of fish, skunk, bad body odor, rotting peat moss, and the musk of a snapping turtle. It is believed to be mostly active at night and has a varied diet. This creature is known to be very territorial and can become aggressive if threatened. It walks with an unusually wide stride and leaves behind 22-inch long footprints, which is one reason it is often compared to Bigfoot. The Mulan Monster can mimic the sounds of birds and coyotes and has a creepy whistle that frightens people, especially when it sneaks around campsites at night. It builds nests out of pine needles, twigs, and leaves, and is known to throw rocks from hidden spots. Some reports even suggest it decapitates deer and other animals before eating them. Witnesses have described hearing a terrifying scream from the creature, which they say sounds like a woman in extreme distress. Before seeing the monster, many people have noticed that the surrounding forest suddenly becomes unnervingly quiet, a behavior often associated with predators. The earliest known account of the Mulan Monster dates back to 1903. I.W. Stevens wrote in the Arizona Republican about a strange creature he saw near the Grand Canyon. According to Stevens, this being had long white hair, a matted beard reaching down to its knees, and sharp talon-like fingers and claws that were at least 2 inches long. Number 8. Missing hiker. A man from Arizona who went missing while hiking in Grand Canyon National Park has been found alive, which is a relief. The National Park Service said that a search and rescue helicopter discovered 48-year-old Euro Hernandez at Breezy Point on the Hermit Trail. He was in stable condition and waiting for the helicopter to take him to safety. Hernandez was last seen earlier on the Tonto Trail, east of Hermit Creek Camp. Park rangers searched for him both on foot along the Hermit Trail and from the air. Once Hernandez was safely found, his wife, Emily Hernandez, was very thankful for the rescue team's efforts. Veronica Morgan, Hernandez's sister, was hiking with him when he started experiencing cramps at the bottom of the trail. They decided to go their separate ways, with Morgan going to get help. Unfortunately, they lost contact, which caused some panic. Thankfully, Hernandez was eventually located. Number 7. Split twig figurine. A split twig figurine is a unique type of artifact discovered in 4 western U.S. states: Arizona, Utah, Nevada, and California. These figurines are crafted from flexible twigs, like willow branches. To make them, the twig is split down the middle and then twisted and wrapped to create shapes resembling animals. Different states have their styles of wrapping these twigs. These figurines are believed to have had various uses over different periods and places. Remarkably, some of these tiny figures might be as old as 4,000 years, a fact we know from radiocarbon dating. This means they were made between the Archaic and late Archaic periods in North America. It's thought that these figurines were part of a pre-hunt ritual. This ritual aimed to gain permission from animal spirits for a successful hunt. To create the figures, a stone blade was used to almost split a willow twig down the middle. The 2 halves were then twisted and wrapped around each other to form the animal shapes. Sometimes, another piece of wood was used to make a hole in the finished figure, symbolizing a spear or arrow kill, which was part of the ritual. During the ritual, a juniper torch would be lit. Once the figures were completed, They were placed under a pile of rocks at the back of a cave. Number 6. Nautiloid Canyon. A nautiloid is like a squid, but with a cone-shaped shell. The body of the nautiloid sits at the wider end of the shell. In the Redwall limestone along the Colorado River in the Grand Canyon, you can find fossils of an ancient nautiloid known as the orthogonal nautiloid. These fossils are from between 200 to 500 million years ago. Some people, especially creationists, argue that these fossils are proof of Noah's flood. They suggest that the Redwall limestone was formed from a marine deposit millions of years ago in a shallow sea, and that the orthocone nautiloids lived there. Their shells were long and pointed, like a pencil. According to the creationist view, these fossils show that a massive flood suddenly covered and buried the nautiloids, preserving them as fossils. On the other hand, a simpler explanation is that the nautiloids lived, died naturally, and sank to the ocean floor. Their shells could have been arranged by the slow movements of ocean currents. This kind of arrangement is quite common and can be seen in fossil sites around the world. There's no special evidence in these sites that suggest a sudden or unusual event. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. In the wide, quiet space of the Grand Canyon, a team of archaeologists discovered a hidden secret within the Grand Canyon that terrifies the whole world. They found a huge stone tablet with unknown writing on it. As they figured out the symbols, a scary prophecy appeared. When the earth bleeds, the sky will fall, and humanity's end shall come from the heart of stone. Within days of the discovery, strange things began to happen. The ground near the canyon started to shake, and a blood-red mist leaked from cracks in the earth. Reports of odd weather patterns spread around the world. Violent storms, darkened skies, and strange solar eclipses. Fear spread as the prophecy's words seemed to be coming true. Governments rushed to find answers, but the mystery only grew when the original archaeologists disappeared without a trace. Now, as the world hangs on the edge of chaos, one question troubles everyone. What ancient power did they release from the Grand Canyon, and can it be stopped before it's too late? Let us know your answer in the comments section. Number 5. Lost Civilization. For the Hopi Indians, the Grand Canyon is more than just a breathtaking view. It's a spiritual gateway to another world. In 2016, over 6 million people visited this stunning place, drawn by its majesty and mystery. But there's an intriguing story that adds an extra layer of fascination to the Grand Canyon. On April 5, 1909, the Arizona Gazette published a surprising article. It claimed that 2 archaeologists from the Smithsonian Institute had discovered a network of tunnels beneath Marble Canyon. According to the article, these tunnels were filled with Egyptian artifacts dating back to around 1250 BC, during the reign of Pharaoh Ramses I. If true, this discovery would challenge the long-held belief that the ancient Puebloans were the first people to live in the canyon, suggesting instead that Egyptians might have been the original inhabitants. The big question would then be, how did Egyptians end up in North America? However, most experts believe this story is simply a fabrication. It's widely thought that the Arizona Gazette created this sensational tale just to boost their sales on a slow news day. Essentially, it was an early version of clickbait. Number 4. The Pseudoscorpions. 2 new types of pseudoscorpions have been discovered in the Grand Canyon Parashant National Monument, right next to the well-known Grand Canyon National Park. These fascinating creatures live in the darkness of their cave habitat and have adapted in some unusual ways. For instance, they have lost their eyes entirely because they don't need them in the pitch-black environment of the cave. Their appearance is quite different from regular scorpions. Unlike scorpions, which have long, pointed tails for injecting venom, these pseudoscorpions use venomous barbs on their claws. These barbs help them paralyze their prey before they eat it. It's believed that these pseudoscorpions are distant relatives of desert scorpions. Their ancestors, who once lived in deserts, evolved to survive in the challenging cave environment. Over time, they adapted to hunting in the dark, which led to their eyeless condition and the development of longer bodies. Their diet mainly consists of small invertebrates and insects, which feed on cricket droppings and the fungi growing on them. Number 3. Old footprints. Recently, scientists discovered ancient reptile footprints in the Grand Canyon that are older than the dinosaurs themselves. These are the oldest tracks ever found in the park, dating back a staggering 100 million years before dinosaurs even existed. The discovery took place a few miles from the South Rim on the Bright Angel Trail, where 28 small tracks, around 310 million years old, were uncovered. Dr. Steve Rowland, a paleontology expert and geology professor at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, explained what likely happened. He believes that 310 million years ago, a layer of wet sand formed a crust on the ground. As the animals walked across it, the crust preserved their footprints. Then, dry sand blew in, covering everything up. Millions of years later, a rock fell off a cliff along the Bright Angel Trail, splitting open along that ancient crust and revealing the fossilized tracks. These tracks offer us a fascinating glimpse into the behavior of these ancient reptiles. According to Dr. Rowland, the strange way the creature moved has sparked some interesting theories. One idea is that strong winds could have pushed the animal off its normal path. Another possibility is that the reptile was performing a mating dance or trying to mark its territory. Dr. Rowland estimates the creature was about 46 centimeters long, roughly the size of a small alligator. Number 2. Disappearing bodies. In 2021, a body was found 430 feet below the rim at Havasupai Point in the Grand Canyon. It was believed to be that of a 45-year-old Hungarian man named Gabab Boran. In a shocking twist, another body was discovered nearby. This one belonged to Scott Walsh, who had been missing since 2015. His body was found almost 5 kilometers away, camouflaged by his surroundings and hidden by undetectable clothing. The Grand Canyon, with its unique geological history often compared to a layer cake, hides a secret space between its rock layers. This hidden area has only recently been explored, helping to explain how these bodies went unnoticed for so long. This adds a mysterious dimension to the already strange Grand Canyon, a place full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. Number 1. Formation of the Grand Canyon. Scientists think the Colorado River spent millions of years carving out what we now call the Grand Canyon. At one point, the Kaibab Plateau rose, blocking the river's path. This caused the river to split into 2 different directions. One branch continued its journey to the Gulf of Mexico, while the other pooled into a large lake. Over time, that lake dried up, leaving behind the Grand Canyon as we see it today. But there's a mystery in the canyon's history. Between 1.75 billion and 1.25 billion years ago, an entire chapter of its story seems to be missing. This is because erosion wore away the rocks from that time, almost as if pages were torn out of a history book. The story picks up again between 1.25 billion and 730 million years ago, with the formation of the Grand Canyon supergroup. These are newer rock layers that formed at the bottom of ancient seas, where sediments settled and hardened into layers. Among these layers is a type of limestone that's 1.25 billion years old, packed with fossils of ancient algae, the earliest known life forms in the canyon. As time marched on, ocean sediments continued to build up. The colorful layers of limestone, shale, and sandstone that make up most of the canyon's walls were formed between 270 million and 58 million years ago. These layers tell the story of the canyon's vibrant past. Which of these astonishing discoveries in the Grand Canyon did you find the most intriguing? Share your opinion with us in the comments section.